All right, you don't have to struggle with trying to find out how to be able to paint on Photoshop, because today I'm gonna show you my step-by-step way. Hey, my name is Mars and I am a digital illustrator working within the animation industry for the past 5 years. And today I'm gonna show you what is my step-by-step process that I always use when I'm starting to do my illustration so that you can be confident every time you're gonna start your new painting. These steps are the ones that I always take, and I wanna be able to show you so that way you can be able to master these basic steps so that your confidence level grows within this program. So let's not waste any more time and let's get right into this. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing we see here in our document is that we're gonna have a layer called original drawings copy. So this is gonna be my sketching layer. This is the one that it's my line art, my rough sketch. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first of all use these 4 tools. Number 1 is gonna be my multiply tool, my paintbrush, my paint bucket, and also a tool called the clipping mask. So these are the 4 tools that I always use, especially when I'm starting my painting and I wanna be able to paint my character fully. These are the 4 tools that I always use. So first of all, let's work on getting my multiply layer, my multiply tool here. So I'm gonna go to my sketch layer, and I'm gonna go to the bottom right where it says normal. This is gonna be my sketching layer. So this is just where like I did my pencil line on that. So I'm gonna go and pull this menu down, and I'm gonna select this part in highlighted in blue called multiply. Now multiply, all it does is that this is just gonna make my original reddish pencil line. It's just gonna darken it up. So I need this because it's gonna be needed when it goes to doing my painting, and you'll see why in a moment. So I'm gonna select multiply, cool. And then the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a new layer. This is where I'm gonna start to put down my base layer of my paintings. So I'm gonna make a new layer, and I'm gonna call this layer base color. And this is essentially gonna be my stencil world. I'm gonna be able to use this stencil to be able to paint inside of my drawing. So that way, I don't, even if I paint outside of the boundaries that it has, it's not gonna go over. So you'll see in a minute. So what I'm gonna do, once I did title this color, once I titled this layer, base layer, I'm gonna move it down underneath my drawing, my sketching layer. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use my paintbrush, where I'm gonna go to the left menu where it has all the tools, and I'm gonna select the brush tool. You can even do it with your hotkey on your keyboard called letter B as in boy. And I'm gonna select this brush right here called Kyle's Ultimate Inking Thick and Thin. Now this is gonna be one of the stock brushes from Photoshop, so you don't need to buy any extra ones. This is already built in through the program. So I'm gonna select that and hit enter. And I am going to choose this purplish color right here, which I am going to use to start to paint my stencil of my painting. So I'm gonna get these little hairs up on top of the hair where I am gonna start painting. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna follow the outline of my painting. So just paint where every line that I did for my sketching, I'm gonna go and just go over it. And I'm gonna go over it once I go and paint all around. I'm gonna use my paint bucket tool to be able to paint all at once in one shot my painting. That's gonna be my stencil. So I'm just gonna go and paint all this right here. One thing I wanna be able to tell you guys is that make sure that you connect every sketch or every line that you make sure it connects to the one that you did previously. So that way it doesn't leave any openings, because if you leave any openings, and if you use the paint bucket tool, which I'm gonna show you, I'll demonstrate in a bit, it's gonna fill up the whole canvas. So you don't want the whole canvas to be painted. You just wanted the section of where you're outlining the brush to go to. So I'm gonna go all around and paint. And I'm using a 45 size brush, but if I zoom out, hitting the Command and minus tool on your keyboard, those are the hotkeys, and pressing your space bar, I can be able to move the canvas around. So, and I'm using a drawing tablet by XP Pen, which is my tablet I always recommend for artists that want to learn how to be able to paint digitally. You know, obviously, the Wacom's are the prize, or the ones that every artist aspires to have, but you know, they're pretty pricey. So I think the XP Pen does a great job in being able to provide beginner-friendly digital tools like this XP Pen 24-inch tablet monitor. I'm using my digital pencil to draw. Cool. So I'm literally just going around the outlines of the drawing. And if you want to be able to hit a straight line, for example, the little feet are in a horizontal, or right now, yeah, now it's a horizontal plane. What I'm going to do is, just to give you guys a little trick, I'm going to hit Shift, and it's going to give me a straight line. That way you don't have to just have a little wonky, because if I try to do it like this, it's going to come out a little wonky. So I'm going to hit Shift first, and then I'm going to create this straight line right here. That way I can be able to just paint in a straight line and continue outlining my beaver. Now, before I learned all these techniques, I was literally trying to paint it just by eyeballing it and trying to be very careful in not going over the outlines. But it was hard, because I really had to paint really tight, and it was kind of painful because my shoulder, I was gripping my pencil really tight. My shoulder was getting really numb. So finding these tools out really saved me a lot of pain, literally. And painting should be fun. Painting should be very relaxing, guys. Painting should be just a really nice outlet for you to be able to be just creative, and just knowing the tools that are gonna make your life a lot easier. It just makes your life so much more fun, and you really enjoy learning this type of programs. I know sometimes it can be very intimidating. You're like, wow, there's so many buttons, so many things. This is why videos like this exist, because I was there, guys. I was literally there. I was trying to figure out, how the hell am I gonna use these? There's so many things. There's 1,001 things to be able to learn in this program. And you know, it took me a couple years. So now I believe I've gained a little bit of extra knowledge, and I want to be able to give back, so that artists like ourselves that want to be able to make this world a lot brighter and much more fun can have the right tools to be able to make their artwork come out, and just, you know, as the best way possible. All right, so I'm almost done. I'm being very careful to be able to connect my previous lines with the new line I'm going to make, because that way I want to be able to paint my entire character in one shot, and not having to go and just go through. Imagine having to go and going through all of these little areas and then trying to fill this out. Like, it's very time consuming, and you know, I want to make sure that I give you the tools that are going to be very effective, so that way you can save time, but also just keep on moving to the next step as effectively and as fast as possible. All right, so let's zoom out, and you can tell that my beaver now has an entire pink outline all around it. So this, I've used two tools so far. Number one, I've used the multiply tool and the paintbrush tool. Now the third tool I'm going to be able to use is going to be the paintbrush. I'm sorry, the paint bucket. And this is where I'm going to find out if the moment of truth, if I missed any areas in my outline of my character. If the paint canvas turns completely pink, then I know that I missed somewhere inside of the outline that I have to go back and try to find. Now this is where I have to be very careful to find any little area that I might have missed that made my whole canvas pink. So now I'm gonna go and my left bar menu and the little bucket tool right here, or in your keyboard is gonna be the letter G. The letter G. So I'm gonna go and now I'm gonna, on this same layer, base color, I'm gonna go and just click it, and voila. It turned my whole character pink. Now let me show you guys what would happen if any little line out in that outline was missing. So I'm gonna Command Z that, and I'm gonna go and, for example, I'm gonna erase a little line right here in this little hair spike right up here. So I'm gonna erase that part. So now there's a part missing in this drawing. So this is what happens if you have an area that's missing. If you're gonna grab the paint bucket tool, hit the letter G, and now I'm gonna drop it in. And you can tell the entire canvas turned pink, and I don't want that. I wanna make sure that only my beaver is pink. So I'm gonna Command Z that, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fill up that area that I missed. All right, so here it is. Cool. Now hit pink. Perfect. Now, one thing I want to let you guys know is that, for example, if you guys can tell, if I zoom in, there's going to be little areas right here where the paint bucket tool didn't really reach everywhere. So I'm going to hit that paint bucket tool again. And now, for example, this area right here, as you can tell, there's a little bit of streaks going around that. So I don't like that. I want to make sure that everything is solidly pink. So I'm going to hit that G in my keyboard, that paint bucket tool, and I'm going to click it again, and now it's going to fill up everything again. So yeah, that is looking pretty solid. So this is going to be my stencil. So everything I paint above this is going to remain in this in this block of paint. So the way I'm going to do that is going to be my next tool is going to be my clipping mask tool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to here to my bottom right above my base color tool. I'm going to go to the bottom right where it says create a new layer. There's a little addition sign. I'm going to click that, and then it's going to give you a layer 1. So this is going to be my now, because we've never seen any pink beavers before. So now I'm going to make my base color brown. So it's going to be my brown base color. So I'm going to hit that and label it brown base color because beavers are brown. And I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to this part where it says in highlight in blue called create clipping mask, which is going to be your stencil. So everything I draw above of my pink base layer is going to remain in this pink block. So I'm going to hit that. And now I'm going to go to get to my colors. I'm going to go to get a brownish color. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get one of these little guys right here. Cool. So I'm gonna go to my brush tool, and look at this, what happens. So I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna paint. Now, as you can tell, it doesn't let me paint outside of what I already painted beforehand. So this is why the clipping mask is very important, because I can be able to now just paint and not have to worry about if I'm going out of bounds or anything. I'm going to paint all around and do the same thing I did earlier with the pink one, with the pink painting. And I can be able to increase the size of my brush and make it easier now, because I don't have to worry about going out of bounds. And I'm gonna repeat the process as I did earlier with the paint bucket tool. So I'm just gonna make sure that everything is nice and clean and neat. All right, cool. And my friend, this step right here, ooh, you know what? Actually, as you can tell right here, there's a part right here that I missed in my painting of my base color. So I'm gonna go and I wanna fill this up. Now I'm gonna use this tool called the eyedropper tool. So I'm gonna hit the letter I in the keyboard, and I'm gonna select this pink base layer. I'm gonna go back to the letter B with my brush tool, hit the letter B, and I'm going to fill it up. So that way there's no spaces missing. So hopefully that was the only spot that was missing the base color. So I'm gonna go back. Now that that space is filled, I'm gonna go back to my brown base color. I'm gonna hit the eyedropper tool because I don't want pink anymore. I'm gonna hit that, and I'm gonna select the area that was brown. So I'm gonna go here, select the brown color. You can tell that the color's changed. So I'm gonna continue working on my brown. I'm gonna increase the size again, and I'm gonna go a little bit faster. And the way I'm rotating the canvas is going to be my letter R in my keyboard, which allows me to be able to just rotate my canvas, so that way I can be able to, you know, move easier, not having to just twist my arm and twist my, like, it was, before knowing all these tools, guys, it was so hard to just try to figure out how to use Photoshop, but all these tools in time will make your life so much easier. So this is why these videos exist, to make your life less stressful than it was for us. Well, for me exactly, when I first started. So I'm just gonna fill up the whole canvas of brown. So I'm just gonna go and boom. All right, fantastic. All right, cool. So I'm gonna now, as I did earlier with my previous step, I'm going to hit the letter G for the paint bucket tool, and now I'm going to fill up my entire canvas of my pink. Now going to be my brown beaver. I'm going to hit that, and boom, it's going to fill up the entire thing. So I'm going to do it a hit one more time, making sure I got all the areas that were, to make sure I avoid getting any little streaks of pink. Cool. Nice. And you see, now it's starting to look like now it's starting to look like a beaver. Cool. And zoom out, and boom. See? Now you have a nice solid looking beaver right there. All right. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna fill up the next biggest part of the beaver, which is gonna be its tail. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go to my layers tab, and I'm gonna go to the same spot to be able to add a new layer. I'm gonna hit the new layer. Now, to make sure that this stays within this stencil, I'm gonna go and hit it with another clipping mask. So I'm gonna right click it, create clipping mask, and I'm gonna label it tail, to be able to fill up that solid area of the other big part of the drawing. So I'm gonna go with a little bit of a darker brown. Let's see. Let's go a little bit darker. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. So same thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to start from up here, and I'm gonna paint. Now it won't let me paint outside. It's because I'm only painting within the stencil. So this is so cool because I can be able to just paint freely and move and create my brush as big as I want, and I can be able to move as fast as possible without having to be messy. Now, coming to where the other part of the body is, now this is where I'm going to have to be a little bit careful because I don't want to paint inside of the big body mass of the beaver. So I'm gonna go in, and even if you go outside, so here, because I'm painting inside now, I have to be very careful on where I'm gonna be painting. So I'm just gonna go around and fill up this space. I'm gonna go to my eraser because I don't wanna have this part right here. I'm gonna go to my eraser. I'm gonna hit the hard round, hit enter. Cool. So guys, if you are receiving value from this video, I want to be able to encourage you to be able to hit that subscribe button down low and leave a comment letting me know how this was helpful for you. If you have been wanting to be able to learn how to use Photoshop for painting, I want to be able to know where you are in your journey. Hit that subscribe button down below so you can be able to see more videos like this, so that you can be able to use them to be able to, as a reference guide, so that your paintings can come out as best as possible. So let's get back into the video. Now to fill up my beaver tail, I'm gonna go to my letter G, and it's still in the same color that I used earlier. So I'm gonna hit that with that paint bucket, drop it in, boom. Nice. And now we have a distinct beaver tail. So the next thing I wanna be able to do, I wanna hit the, another part of the beaver is gonna be the nose. Now beavers have a very dark nose. So I'm gonna go and do the same thing. I'm gonna create another layer. I'm gonna create a layer for everything, guys, because everything is gonna be organized, but also it's very important that you always create layers, because sometimes you're gonna, and this is very important that you always pay attention to what layer is what, and name them, because if you just leave them stacked up as layers 1, 2, 3, you'll forget which ones they are. So it's easier to always make sure that you always remember what layer you did your painting. So I'm gonna go, same thing. I'm going to create another layer, hit create clipping mask, change the name, and label it nose. Cool. And still gonna be in that clipping mask mode because I'm still gonna be drawing inside of the stencil. So I'm gonna go and zoom in, and I'm gonna make it my life easier. I'm gonna use the same color that I used for the tail. So I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna go to my brush tool, letter B, and I'm gonna just paint inside this area right here. And all I'm worrying right now is just, I'm gonna just build up the base colors on this. And the reason why I chose the multiply aspect, the multiply effect on my sketch mode, my sketch drawing, is because I can still be able to see the drawing, the sketches underneath. All right, so the nose is complete. Perfect, nose is complete. Now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make another layer, and I'm gonna go and create another layer for the teeth, the beaver teeth, the very distinct beaver teeth. Hit a new layer, right click it, create clipping mask, name it teeth. Now for this one, I am not gonna paint it completely white because beaver teeth are not strictly white. They have a little bit of that orangey reddish tint to it because they're always obviously eating vegetation and all that. So I'm gonna go and move my color a little bit north, as you can change. And I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of whitish, brownish, like a beige kind of drawing. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that color. Let's see how it goes. So I'm gonna go with my brush tool. All right, that's all right. Let's see how this turns out. So I'm gonna go underneath where the top of the muzzle is. I'm gonna paint it down, and I'm gonna use my sketch as a reference to know. And because I have underneath I have it under with my clipping mask, it's not allowing me to paint outside, so it's much easier to paint. Cool. As I did earlier, I'm gonna go to my paint bucket tool, letter G in my keyboard, and then voila. I'm gonna hit it again to make sure I don't miss any parts of the teeth that are leaving a little bit like streaks on it. So yeah, there you go. Nice. Slowly but surely, guys, this is starting to look like a beaver. All right, perfect. All right, cool. So what I'm gonna do now is that to be able to give it a little bit of a separation of where the fur is, because in typical cartoon fashion, the main dark color and the secondary color. So especially when it comes to animals, there's gonna be a separation of colors. I'm gonna go above my brown base color. I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna hit it with another layer. Which the cool thing about it is that even if I paint, it's gonna be like a layer underneath of my teeth and also my nose. So I'm gonna hit this with a secondary, or just I'm gonna hit it with I'm gonna name it lighter fur. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit my eye droplet tool. I'm gonna select select the main color that I have my beaver in. And now I'm gonna go and hit it with a little bit of lighter color on here. And just see how it looks. That's nice right there, yeah, that's cool. Now because this layer is underneath the teeth and the nose, even if I paint above it, because the program recognizes it as being underneath, it is gonna be able to paint it underneath. So that way I'm not worrying about painting over my other layers. Now, if it would have been above my nose and my teeth, it would have painted above. So I don't want that. I want to make sure that I'm painting underneath, which is one of the cool things about Photoshop, that you can be able to maneuver the layers so that way it can be able to make your life a lot easier. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paint the cheek area and also moving down to where the chest of the beaver is. So I'm going to come up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue to use my Kyle Ultimate Inking brush. All right, so I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna paint right above here, the separation of the nose and the muzzle. Underneath the eyes. And I'm going to come right here and then do like a little bit of a curve following the cheek line, the cheek shape. And come right underneath where the chin is, down to the neck. And then paint around the leg area. And I can be able to use my eraser tool later, so that I don't have to worry about it. So I'm just gonna keep it underneath in the belly. So yeah, right there. And because it's still in my stencil mode, it's only allowing me to paint inside of the drawing. So I'm gonna hit it with my paint bucket tool. See, there's a part that I missed painting because if I hit it with my paint bucket tool and I filled out the whole thing. So I don't want that. I want to make sure I filled up everything. So I think I missed it right here. There we go. Nice. Now, I don't want my arm of my beaver to be, you know, it's going to be over painting that same color. So I'm going to come and erase that. I'm going to erase that area. What I can do here to make my life easier so I don't have to be like constantly just erasing, I can be able to use this tool called the lasso tool, which is really cool because you can be able to select an entire area that you want to delete and it will do it for you in one shot. So I'm going to come and hit it with my lasso tool. You can use your hotkey in your keyboard called the letter L. Not a loser, but a letter L. Now you can see this whole area that's selected with a little bit of like a marching ants around it. All I gotta do is just go, and then once it is selected, I'm gonna hit delete, and it deletes that entire area. Once I'm done, I go to Command D to deselect that area, so it's gonna disappear. So Command D, boom. And there's a little bit of like white fur on the arm, so I'm just gonna go with my eraser tool and just gonna easily just erase it. See, like nothing happened. And you can tell the separation of colors between the brown and the lighter fur. So same thing with here. I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. I'm gonna clean this up. I don't want that fur on my legs of my beaver, so I'm gonna hit it with the eraser tool, like so. All right, so now the separation is done. However, I'm noticing that the line of the fur is really rough. It's very sharp and it's very jagged. So I'm gonna be able to, I wanna show you guys a tool that I also always use when it comes to be able to like softening up, especially when it comes to fur and characters. You know, I don't wanna have that very jagged, sharp line that separates the fur because fur doesn't do that. So I'm gonna be able to use a tool that I can be able to soften up that fur on the belly of the beaver. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up to here where it says filter on the top menu, and I'm gonna make that pull down menu come down, and then where it says blur, I'm gonna go to effect called Gaussian blur. So I'm gonna select that, and you're gonna you notice how this layer that I just painted on the bottom fur, and it has to be highlighted. I'm gonna hit that, I'm gonna go and select that Gaussian blur, and it's gonna soften up that. It's gonna give it a little bit of an airbrush kind of effect. So I can be able to measure how much of effect I want. So I'm gonna keep it a little bit like this, and it's gonna give me that softness because fur is beaver fur is very soft. So I'm gonna keep it in that same idea. So I like the way that right now this layer is very like airbrushed and softened out a little bit, so it doesn't have that jagged line anymore. So I'm going to hit OK, and cool. Now if I zoom out, nice. My under the skin of the under fur of the beaver, it's looking a lot more softer now. Cool. So one other area I need to also fill out is going to be my eyes for my beaver. I'm gonna separate these layers because it's gonna go by tiers. So I'm gonna go the bigger area right here. So I'm gonna go above where my my layer called teeth. I'm gonna make another one up above because I want to be able to paint above that little soft area that of the lighter fur. So hit a new layer. Right click, create clipping mask, and I'm gonna call this eye mask layer. So for this one, I'm gonna go to swing a little bit of the color to the right to give it a distinction between the softness of the nose and also just to give you a little bit of separation of colors. So I'm gonna go and use my brush tool right here. And I think it's a little too similar to the one I have underneath. So I'm gonna go a little bit darker. Yeah, this is perfect right here. So cool. So I'm gonna go and paint around the eyebrow. And it kind of looks a little bit, my idea was always, I've always liked Disney type of illustrations. I'm a huge fan of Zootopia. So I always like to be able to have that type of artwork, that type of style in my artwork, because that's the style I grew up with. And I've always, as a kid, wanted to learn how the animators or the character designers, how they were able to draw like that. So cool. So now that my area that I want to paint in is selected, so I'm going to go and hit my paint bucket tool. I'm going to hit that and hit it again. Nice. Cool. Now I'm going to paint in the sclera and also the pupil of my beaver. So I'm going to go and again hit it with my clipping mask. Create a new clipping mask. I'm going to name the layer sclera. Now I'm not going to go solid white. I'm going to go a little bit of reddish white, because the white of our eyes isn't completely white. It has a little bit, has blood vessels in it, so it has a little bit of that reddish tint to it. So I'm gonna paint my eyes. Perfect, yeah. Still gonna give it that lighter eye looking color. As I did before, hit my paint bucket tool, click it twice, fill up my shape that I wanted to paint. So I'm gonna do the same thing with my other eye. Nice. Almost there, guys. My beaver is looking very beaverish. Cool, almost done with this area of my beaver. Next, I'm going to paint the pupil and the iris of my beaver. So I'm gonna again hit it with a new layer, clipping mask, pupil. So I'm gonna go with a little bit of a darker. So I'm going to use the nose color as a starting point. So I'm going to hit it with my eyedropper tool. I'm going to hit the letter I on my keyboard to select that same color. I'm going to go with that, and let's just do the same eye color on my beaver. So I'm going to, now that I have the color selected, I'm going to just hit my brush tool, and I'm going to paint around. See how it looks. If it looks too dark, then I might have to like tone it down a bit. And I'll show you guys how to be able to tone down the color or make it darker in Photoshop. So I'm just gonna, now that the whole area is painted, I'm going to again use my paint bucket tool, letter G, and I'm gonna hit that. Nice. It's looking pretty good. Perfect, see? Now that is a good looking beaver right there. That is dope. All right, So almost done with the base color. So one more step I'm going to take is going to be my iris, which is going to now make that iris a little bit darker than the pupil. So I'm going to go and hit it with another layer, hit it with a clipping mask, and I'm going to name it iris, and I'm going to go with a much darker brown. I'm going to move this more down south, and I'm going to hit it with my brush. So I'm going to go around it. Nice. That is a great looking beaver. So one of the things I did miss is going to be the ears for the beaver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a little bit of effect right here. So I'm going to go and create a new layer. Create a clipping mask. Call it ears. And I'm going to use the base color as a reference. So I'm going to select the main color here, and I'm going to go a little bit darker to be able to differentiate and make a drawing to make it give the idea that the ear is not just part of the fur. It's going to be a little bit separated. So I'm going to go down right here, my brush tool, and I'm going to just do this. Give a little bit of effect that the ear has a little bit of fur in there. So, and now if I really wanted to give it a little bit of a human-ish type of effect, sometimes what I do is I'm going to give a little bit of a blush to the character, because the characters do have blood flowing through, so it does have, even though this is going to be, obviously beavers you can never tell because they have the fur on top of their skin, but for us that are going to be doing this cartoon, I can be able to do what I want. So I'm going to give it a little bit of that human touch. So I'm going to give a little bit of that blush. So I'm going to get a new layer, create and name it blush, if I can type correctly. And I'm going to go and select a reddish tone. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to go to my brush menu, and I'm going to go select an airbrush that is going to be soft round pressure opacity. So I'm going to hit select and hit enter. And I'm going to gently give it a little bit of blush on the cheeks of the beaver. So what I'm going to do, if you look at the top of the menu where it has this area called opacity, 100%, on the right, it has a little bit like a circle and a pencil right there. That's what you call the pressure sensitivity tool. So I'm going to select that, because if I don't select that, it's just going to give a straight just bomb of ink that's going to plow through. So I don't want to avoid that. So I'm going to go and select this, and now it allows me to gently put as much pressure of that blush as I want. So so you can tell already, maybe zoom in a little bit more, that a little bit of that blush on the cheek. So I'm gonna go and watch the size. I'm gonna shrink a little bit more, and you can tell a little bit that there, it gives me a little bit of that blush on to make it a little bit of that human aspect. Now, you can tell it's a little too much, so I'm just going to come over here to my opacity level and I'm going to swing it a little bit less to the left. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Because if I zoom out, I don't want it to look very blushy. So I want a little bit, just a hint of it. So I think at the opacity of 66% will be good right there. Gives it a little bit of that blush. And a little bit on the hands as well. And the feet. And it's a little bit in the ears too. And here is, voila, our beaver. So this is gonna be our base color to our beaver. But in my next video, I'm gonna show you how to be able to use more effects that are gonna be your foundation effects to give the shadows and the highlights of the painting so that you can be able to have your painting pop out a little more, give it a little bit more of a 3D look to give it more of a complete render to your painting. So follow me in the next video so we can be able to go into part 2 of these effects. I'll catch you in the next one.